I'm expecting your response. Or is it that no one went through the slide? Just because I'm very busy these days, I don't have time to put quiz on the WhatsApp group. Maybe that's why you people did not really care. You felt like you understood, you get the point. But before we start, let me ask some questions from what we did last week. I'm trying to save time, but also there's no point rushing while you don't remember what you did the last time. We are supposed to build on the foundation of last week, not just rushing without direction. So I'm just going to take us to the quiz so that we answer it, right? So I'm going to share my screen. Yeah, I hope you can see my screen. So who can answer this? Put your answer in the chat section. We have these questions last week. I'm assuming that you understood everything so perfectly well. You didn't create time to go through the slide. You were so awesomely okay that, I mean, you're just waiting for me to show what I can, to show my questions so that you can answer them. So, okay, guys, I'm expecting answer to these questions. Let's be fast. Let's be fast. Except if you, in fact, even if you're not part of the session last week, oh, you can't hear me? Let me see. I don't know why my mic is misbehaving this evening. Uh, where is it? 100%. Okay. So, okay, you can hear me, right? Okay, great. I guess I wanted to go and check the settings. Maybe there's an issue. So answers are coming in. Let me see from where. Jibri said number one is B. Fulfilling is not responsibility of a project manager. Say fixing. And then Vivian said B for one. Sheba said B for one. Number two, you say C. Tamara said number one is B. So I'm going to assume that this one is easy. You guys can always dance around this, but there's the one that always confuses you people. So let's go there. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing or pause sharing and then take us to the next question, which is this. And then I'm going to resume sharing. So here is the next question. Which of the following type of project management lifecycle takes speed as its goal? And then which of the following type of project management lifecycle has fixed requirements? So you should know this by default, right? If you are going to be checking, if somehow you are checking the slide before you answer the question, then you should repent, because I expect you to know it off heart. So Vivian said one is D, agile. Okay, go on. Number two, B, fixed requirement predictive. Okay. Tamara said number one is A, iterative. Okay, keep going. You see, one thing with this that I need you to understand is tomorrow, if I'm looking for a project partner, it's from the class I'll come and pick my project partner from. Someone who has been, except the partner said, I'm not interested in working with you. It's going to be from the class I'll first come and pick someone. Or if I am managing a data team, I'm definitely going to pick from my mentees first before I go and hire from outside. So someone whom I've mentored over a period of time, right? So the same thing with this project management. We are trying to like think through this, um, you know, task ourselves with new knowledge, exposing ourselves to new knowledge. So if somehow you are not participating, it will be difficult for me to say I need someone to to collaborate with in a project, a paid project, and then I'll now be thinking the first person I should call is someone I don't know. Is not possible, right? So your commitment is very important. So yeah, that's it for this one. Yeah, number one is agile. Agile takes speed into consideration. Software project management actually consider agile a lot. But then when you're talking about predictive, that's where construction companies comes in, right? They are more of like predictive. You want to develop a bridge, right? Bridge, they won't go in kind of like an iterative or agile method. They'll just go once. They already know what they want. The requirement is fixed. So it's going to be more of like predictive. Okay. So I think we'll stop here. So let's go into week 2. Today is about project planning, and the project planning. Hi, Christy. Okay. Okay. So the project planning, um, that's what we'll focus on today. Seriously, I have started this bootcamp before I started to think. If I know, I wouldn't have started this because my hands are so tied to so many things right now. I'm having headache. So, um, but somehow I have to ensure that your slide is ready. I have to ensure that the necessary case studies we should look at is ready for the week, right? For me to guide you through. So your own part is to commit to ensure that you exhaust these resources. If you don't, it becomes very challenging for me to help you. There's really nothing I have to gain from this. Oh, and that, by the way, I would like to inform you that in Abuja here, an organization actually hired me with the same content I'm teaching you for free, hired me for 30 days period to teach the same content for 1 million naira. So that's the content you're getting for free. I didn't ask you for anything. All I ask you is just come online, concentrate, learn it. That's all. The same content, the same curriculum. Nothing has changed. In fact, if there's anything that changed is that I even improve your own because the version I gave to them is different from this. I improved on it, right? So I just need you to commit. That's all. Don't worry, you can do whatever you want to do, but just dedicate, even if it's 1 hour in a week, entire week, 7 days, seven multiplied by 24. I don't know how many hours is that. So just take one out of it and just dedicate. Even if you can't watch the video, go through the slide again. Maybe when you have question from the slide, you can now go to the video, okay? But I am just trying to tell you to commit to it. It's entirely free. And secondly, the thing you also need to take into consideration here is that whenever you start something, always ensure you finish it. When you finish it, it does something psychologically to your brain. So when you start something and it gets difficult or challenging, you're like, today network no good, me I no fit, you just drop off. Or you don't regard it, you just stop it. It also has a negative effect on your brain. But when you try to push something from beginning to the end, this course you are seeing, I actually compress it. If you see the original course, you won't believe that someone has to put all that in their brain. It's actually very bulky. Okay. but I had to compress it, then focus more on practical side of it. So ensure that you finish it. It is for your own good. It will help you to also take on another task and finish it. For instance, there's something I picked on and I did 30 days of practice on that particular topic. And every day I make sure I take a subtopic, learn it, understand it, push to GitHub. I did that consistently for 30 days. Trust me, there were days that I defaulted. Yeah, I had to pick it up the next day and said, oh, I didn't do this on Monday or on Tuesday. Let me quickly cover up on Wednesday. But when I finished that 30 days, I had a relief. In fact, automatically I became confident that I could go for another 30 days, right? So that's what happened when you try to, finish things. And the third one, I just want to stop. I don't know why I'm being led in this way to keep talking about this. The third one is that it is always terrible for you to be learning something when you need it. You learn when you don't need it, and then it becomes like a free gift, a gift to you, right? A gift to you when you need it. So imagine you trying to learn this. The moment somebody just called you and said, "Do you have an idea on how to manage a project?" You just say, "Oh, don't worry. Let me quickly Let me quickly check Google how to manage a project. Enter how to." You stress yourself out and you will end up humiliating yourself. But when you don't need it, you dedicate the time to learn it. Trust me, you will go a long way. You will go a long way. It will go a long way for you. There's something I wrote in my engineering mathematics textbook back in the days. I've forgotten who came up with that what's it called? Words of wisdom. He said every knowledge is an arc to build upon. So if you suspend, if you didn't finish it, it becomes a problem. That's one. If you finish it, it's an advantage to you. When you need it in the future, you don't need to start from afresh. Like today, I'm going to share some templates with you, which you don't need to be looking for in the future. Someone just calls you, I need you to do this. You reach out to your template, pick them up. And the essence of that, the fourth reason is that when you take those templates and use it to present your project, it shows excellence. It's not just to say I can manage the project. I want you to be very excellent in the way you handle it. So when you make a presentation to me, I'm like, wow, this person is so good, right? It's not just every time we meet, you just use mouth to talk to me. And we have done this today. Our car broke down somewhere. So now currently we are in week 3. That's what we have done. No, I want you to show me a proper documentation of what you are doing. It makes me to feel like, oh, this person really knows what he or she is doing, right? This is applicable general. Even someone who doesn't know much about project management, they know when you are giving them something excellent and when you are just thinking like an agbero. Permit me to use that. Don't get offended, right? So today we'll quickly look at describing the components of project planning phase and their significance. We're going to talk about the tools that we can use. And then we can also, discuss how to estimate, track, and, maintain a project, and then drafting a communication plan. All right. So, excuse me. So, yeah, the first one is what is project planning. Project planning is primarily focused on establishing the scope, refining the objectives, and then defining the course of action. These things are very, very essential. But then as essential as they are, you have to also have it at the back of your mind that every time you're planning a project, it must revolve around 3 things: the scope of the project, the time, the timing, the timeline, and then the cost of the project. So meaning that the same project can be given to you guys and me, and then by the time we go through it and do the planning, your timeline will be different from mine. The cost you prepared will be different from mine. The objectives will be different from mine, right? I'm talking about we are having a meeting. I have a personal meeting with the C-level manager. You two have your own personal meeting with the C-level manager, right? And then after all this, we realize that our discussion will vary. For instance, when the C-level managers or the project owners decide to have what's it called? Their attention diverted towards scope. They can decide to give me 3 objectives and they can decide to give you 4 objectives. So your scope is bigger than mine. Now, the timeline, they may decide to give me 2 weeks to complete the same project and they may decide to give you 4 weeks. Then the cost implementation, because your objective is more than my objectives, they can decide to the budget for your project is you that will do the work of the budgeting, like the cost. So you have to also make sure that you don't shoot yourself. Is he in the foot or on your foot? Or just don't shoot yourself. All right. So the cost will also be very, very important. And the cost is driven by objective. But one of the things with managing a project or planning a project is that you have to find a balance between these 3 tripartite components, right? The scope, the cost, and then the time, the duration. And you see, somehow they are kind of like very, very connected. They have a very strong relationship. If the project extends beyond the duration assigned to it, it will affect the cost. You may have to request for more cost, more money. It will affect the budget, okay? So you have to be careful about that. Okay, Christy, yeah, when you say C-level manager, you're talking about those at the helm of decision making. For instance, you're talking about the chief technology officer, like the CTO. You're talking about the COO, which is the chief operating officer. You're talking about the CEO, which is the chief executive officer. So you're talking about those very few guys at the top that you'll be relating with. All right. So yeah, for instance, we have a use case in a construction project. One of the things you have to take into consideration is that a project manager will be the one that will define the role, like the site supervisors, the safety officer, the procurement lead. They are the one that will define who these people are. They'll bring them on board. And then they are also the one that will make sure that these people align to the project goal. Okay. And like for a construction project, it's more of like a waterfall. Remember, we talked about predictive life cycle last week. So that's the approach to a construction project. The requirements are fixed. Okay. When I say fix, have this at the back of your mind that nobody is stealing materials from the site. Because when people started stealing materials, unfortunately, you realize that the resources which are supposed to take you in that particular duration of the project will not be enough anymore. I have a company that I interviewed with one certain time. They wanted me to build an API for them, and the API is supposed to help track how they consume the raw materials and then convert them into the finished product that they sell to customers, because they realize that whenever they have 50 bags of raw materials, by the time it leaves the warehouse to the production center, the output, that's the product itself that comes out of those raw material, is not equivalent to the quantity of raw material that went in. So thank God I didn't take it, because trust me, it would have been a war. But those guys have been doing it for quite some time, and it's a very popular company in Nigeria. I think the issue we have is that they were not interested in paying what I was asking for. You're asking me to come and fight people that have been stealing your money. Now you don't want to pay people that some of them may even decide to be doing juju. By the time they see me, they will try to frustrate me. So you don't want to pay that amount. I say, nah, you're not ready. Maybe they should keep stealing it. Maybe that's what you like. So this takes us to another brief discussion here, which is how do we plan projects? When we want to create a project plan, one of the things you have to consider is a vision. There's always a vision to the project. For instance, if you're in Abuja, you realize that there are some roads that were not linked before. And then in this case, the C-level executive is the Minister of FCT. And to him, he thinks, no, this road should be linked to the other road. So that is a vision. He cast a vision and said this road should be linked to the other road. Or in other case, you can also say that there's a plan for Abuja before, and then These ministers are to come and then ride on those plans. So there was a vision before, but nobody executed. So he came and said, you know what, let me execute this vision. So every project plan must have a vision. And in this vision, we have to write an executive summary, a brief description of the goals and the objective of the project, right? And then the detail about the context. You can use this template to prepare a document called project plan document, right? Sometimes it's called, what's it called? I think executive, I'm trying to remember the name. When I remember, I'll tell you. Uh, Project charter, something like that. Yeah, like a project charter. So you just have the vision, which is the executive summary, the details about the context, description of the target audience, who this project are supposed to serve, or is supposed to serve, the roles and responsibilities involved. In this case, you're talking about the supervisors. Remember the construction project we use for an example. Talking about the supervisors, the engineers, the site managers, and all that. Then the communication strategy. It's not just when you have eaten and you are overfed, you just say, let me call my site manager and see what happened. No, there's a communication strategy there. So when you should meet with them. Now, there are exceptions for impromptu calls. But aside that, there are when you should meet with all the necessary stakeholders involved. When we say stakeholders involve the team, that is the team carrying out the project, what's it called? The C-level managers, and any other external body that has something to contribute, including yourself, the project manager, all forms the stakeholders. Then we also have the project timeline, which we talked about earlier, right? You have to be able to, in your project charter, describe how long this project will take. And then you have to break it down and allocate time to each and every one of those tasks, right? So I'm going to show us something on that very shortly. Then we have the core tasks and deliverables. So it's one thing to have tasks, it's another thing to have deliverables. So you have defined that, okay, you want to be able to supply yam to Abuja as your project, and then you are expecting 3 trucks of yam from maybe Ondo State to Abuja. Now, one thing, the tax is to supply those yams. Now, the deliverables is to have yams in Abuja at a particular time. Okay, so meaning that if we have trucks in Abuja at that time and there's no yam, the deliverables were not met. All right. Do we understand so far, or am I rushing? Do we understand so far, or am I rushing?
No, we understand, sir.
That voice is not lively. It's like I know it's late. We'll talk about this time before I end this meeting. We'll talk about the time. Maybe we should adjust the time. So, okay, thank you.
I
Then we'll
can hear
talk,
you, sir.
okay. So we'll talk about the budget and the cost of the project, the contingency plan where risks should be assessed. There's always a risk management in every project charter, right? You don't just assume that there will be no issues. One of the best thing about a strategic manager is that it's your ability to foresee the future. Okay, so you kind of take into consideration. You are not thinking negative. It's just that you are trying to take some key things into consideration. So yeah, basically this is all we need to put. These are like the foundational components of a project plan. All right. You should be able to use this template to create what you want to create. Now you can increase these numbers, you can reduce them, you can compress them. It depends on who your audience is. All right. So for instance, if you want to meet with the executive managers, you can compress this into a slide and present to them. But when you want to talk to your engineers, your supervisors, you have to elaborate as much as possible because you don't want them to say that you said blue, whereas what you meant was not, no, you said sky blue, whereas what you meant is navy blue. So you need to be very detailed. And yeah. So the next thing is creating a resource plan. A resource plan is also very, very important. Sure. Okay. In this case, we are talking about how you can All right, thank you for your patience. Yeah. Oh, okay. An API is what software engineers build to help two softwares to communicate, or to help a software and a hardware to communicate. Okay. It simply means it's a short form, but the full meaning is application programming interface. So it basically is software on its own that helps two softwares to communicate, or a software and a hardware to communicate. So we also have creating a resource plan. That's also important because you need to be able to track how the resources are being exhausted or consumed. One of the thing, I think I gave an example last week about UNICEF, how UNICEF manages their projects, right? Where they have what is called measurement template. It's an Excel document where you kind of enter the details of the measurement you went to the field to take. So when you enter those details, automatically the Excel will compute the amount, the amount you need for the cement, the amount you need for the blocks. It will just kind of like sum up everything. And UNICEF has a range that they are expecting. So in this measurement template, you have the unit cost of each of those items, and then you also have the measurement you took from the field, and then the template kind of compute everything and give the total amount. So the total amount has to fall into the range UNICEF has set. If it goes beyond it, you're on your own. They won't award you the contract. They'll give it to another person. So that's all about a resource plan. Then we also have budget estimation. They are very close, right? Let me put it that way. They are very close. So budget estimation and resource plan is very close in the sense that budget estimation is dwelling more on money, while resource plan is kind of taking into consideration both money and then other resources like human resources, material resources, and so on and so forth. Then we have gathering of those resources. So where do you store them? Where do you need them? And you have to make it in such a way that it is easy for people to be able to, quickly, for the engineers to easily access the resources. Instead of having resources somewhere in Zuba and then your office is in Nyanya, it can be very expensive. So you have to look for office close to Nyanya so that the engineers can, uh, make use of that. And that takes us back to time and what do we call? We have three components of project plan that we mentioned. I would say project plan has to revolve around time, scope, and what's the other one? I've forgotten. Who remembers? Time, scope, and what? Okay. Cost. Okay, thank you, Christy. Cost. So if you store your materials in Zuba and then you are bringing them to Nyanya, you know it's going to cost you and it's also going to consume time. But then if you also store them in Nyanya close to where the engineers are working, then it will save you time, it will save you cost. But you also have to consider, is it safe? Because if it's not safe and people are stealing those products, it becomes another issue on its own, right? The cost that you're trying to save becomes a liability. So gathering of those resources is also important, that you plan it from the beginning. And then as a project manager, which part of your activity is also to be a strategic manager, is to foresee the possible places where you can store those products or those materials you need for your project, the resources. So the next one is anticipating risk and potential quality roadblocks. It's part of your duty. It's part of the project plan for you to, take that into consideration. What are the possible things that could happen, failures that could happen? There are safety measures. I think this is where, as a project manager, sometimes along the line, it's good for you to take the certification called Health and Safety. I've forgotten. I think it's HSC. So you can take that certification. It also helps to boost your rank because you have to be able to anticipate risk and then, manage them properly. So I'm going to show us a template on budget estimation, right? And then think should be here. Yeah, this is budget template. I'm going to show us this quickly. Okay. Just be patient. It's kind of coming up. Yeah, this is a typical budget template here. You see, one of the things we are talking about, don't mind this, is because I don't rate Windows. That's why you are seeing that I didn't pay for the activation. But then just let me take a break. Okay. All right, thank you. So we have this. Now, if you have broken your project into categories, and then in each category you have tasks assigned to them. Excuse me. So, all right, we have category for each of those the main tasks. Under the main tasks, we have category. For instance, we are taking construction company for an example. So we want to build a bridge. Now, before we build this bridge, we are not just going to send the engineers there and say, start building bridge, right? We have to break the building of that bridge. You have to break it down into category, meaning that there are those in charge of supplying water. There are those in charge of supplying sand. There are those in charge of supplying, gravel, and so on and so forth. So you break them down into those categories. Then when you break them down into those categories, you can now, under each category, you now have tax. So tax, number one, for instance, for those supplying water, you expect them to bring water, maybe supply maybe 12 tanks of water every morning. That's tax one. So in that tax, you now have to consider how much, what's the rate. In this case, that's not under labor. You come back to labor. It's under material now. So how much does it cost for one water? You put it here. How many quantity of water are you expecting? 12. What's the rate for one water? You can say maybe 1 million naira. I don't know. This is just an assumption. Okay, this 100,000 I wrote for 100,000. So meaning that automatically you see that the template is adjusting itself. So you already know that the budget for the water is 1.2 million to get 12 tank of water. Then also, the other thing is the labor, right? The labor, which is the number of hours and the rate. So the guys doing the work, if you didn't hire an external person, if it is internal, you have to also put the staffs working, bring the drivers bringing the water. How many hours does it take them to bring the water, to bring all the 12 water, and then what is the rate for each hour? But then if you are dealing with an external organization, you just have to, send it to them, right? Just all you need is just the unit and then the dollar per unit. You move on from there. No stress. So this is what you repeat all through this material. So it's very simple and straightforward. Then there are other things like fixed cost. Fixed cost is different from labor and material. Fixed costs are those costs that in most cases, it doesn't change. It's just the way it is. For instance, if you are to purchase, as part of bringing the water, you are supposed to purchase, maybe your company is the owner of the truck. So you're supposed to purchase a tire. So that is a fixed cost. You don't purchase tire every day. You only purchase it once. So you purchase the new tire for the truck, and then you also add the cost here. You may have some questions running in your mind. This example, what I'm trying to say there now is that if you have a truck in the company, before you start a new project, you're also going to ask the drivers, the mechanic in the company, hope everything is fine. Is there anything that needs to be changed? As the project manager, you have to take all that into consideration. It's not when your project have started, you now said, is the engine oil okay? And then they now tell you, or they came to you and said the engine oil is not okay. All that you're supposed to figure it out at the beginning is part of the budget. So when you start, you just roll and except there are exceptions when maybe there's an accident or something. All right. So who understand this budget template? It's not difficult. It's very easy. Do we understand it?
I'm trying to.
Okay, it's just it's very straightforward. It's not hard. Not hard. But I will share it with you so that you play with it. But if you have any issue, feel free and let me know. Okay. So
All right.
the first question here is, which of the following is not part of the components of creating a project plan? This one is very tricky, except you have been following. Yeah. You have to really be following for you not to oh, okay. I will. Who can answer this question? You guys should try to answer this question so that I will explain. I really want us to close early today, but let's see. The monitoring is not part of it. So there was also one of the things I used to do when I'm taking a virtual class, and then I don't have the time. I'm not a fast writer. I'm more of a fast typer than a fast writer. So one of the things I do is either I'm typing the thing I'm seeing on screen or I'm taking a screenshot. So by the time they ask you a question, you could quickly slide through a screenshot and then know which one is the answer. That's not an expo. I remember the first time I wrote an exam with a school abroad, and then they told us that we can take an A4 and then write all the answers we think we will need, the formulas and everything that we think we will need in the exam. We should write it on an A4. Inside me, I was feeling guilty. I said, they are teaching me expo. How do I survive this now? So I didn't know that it's actually here in Nigeria, they'll just hold you by the throat. You have to do it like no cheating, which eventually caused some people to go and cheat. So they make it flexible for themselves, right? So ensure to take screenshots or take notes. The answer is D. I hope you people have not gone to bed. This one, that is only 2 people that is replying. And I will explain the project charter once again.
I got it.
You said? What did you say?
I said I got.
Oh, okay.
I said I got the answer.
Yeah, the answer is D, monitoring. Monitoring is not part of the project plan. Project plan documents and so on. Then the next one is budget estimation is not part of the project planning phase. Yes or no? So who also have answer to this? Take this serious, because there's a day I'll say answer a question. Anybody that answer it out, you just receive airtime on your phone. You will not even expect it that day, but I will not tell you which day. So it depends on how you move. So budget estimation is not part of the project planning phase. Yes or no? Okay. Thank you. That means we're all paying attention. I will assume that we are paying attention. So let me quickly take a look at this budget template here. So in a project planning, you can actually use this to, do your budgeting, right? Okay, something on my mind. Let me not say it. Let me not say it. Let's keep moving. So we've talked about project planning, right? Oh, not here, not here. Okay, we've talked about creating a project plan, creating a resource plan, having a budget estimation, gathering resources, anticipating risk is part of the planning phase of every project that you create a project plan. A project plan is a document that will contain information such as the vision of the project, executive summary, description of the target audience, details about the context of the project, right? Roles and responsibility, who is doing what in the project, and the project timeline, the core tasks and deliverables involved in the project. It's one thing to have objectives, it's another thing to have deliverables. So, and then we talked about the resources, we talked about budget and cost, and under the budget and cost, that's where we are looking at this document here. So we are saying every project can be broken into, every project is a tax that can be broken into sub-tax. Now, these sub-tax, they have to fall into a particular category. And then we took construction company for an example. It would have been easier for me to use software company, but not all of us will go into the software company. So construction company is actually easier. It's similar to so many things. So we have category in construction company. We have those responsible for supplying water to the site. We have those responsible for supplying gravels to the site. We have those responsible for supplying sand to the site. So, and all other resources that we need, right? So one of the things we will do is that in this subtax, what is the first category? Now, if this category is water supply, call it water supply, right? So the subtax under this category, one of them may be, let me check. I think I have messages coming in. So if we are working in Nigeria, can we use Naira as the unit of currency? Yes, you have to use Naira. You have to use Naira as currency, except otherwise. But if you're working with international organizations, they will compel you to use dollars in most cases, like the UN. They'll compel you to use dollars. So now under the water supply, we have several activities attached to this. So maybe daily supply of 12 tanks of water. And then what else can we ask the water supply guys to do? But one of the things you have to also note here is that water supply can be, looked at in two ways. You can either contract an external consultant to bring the water, all right? And then all you have to do is in your budget template is just to put the units, right? The unit and then the amount per unit, okay? But then there are other cases where the company owns the truck, owns the drivers. They only have to go and purchase the water. So that will be different. That will be different. The cost per unit will be different. Then the hourly rate of the labor of all the people involved, of the drivers, and then whoever it is that are involved in the labor, you have to calculate the number of hours they work or they worked, and then the rate. So since it's at the planning phase, what you'll be doing is estimation. It's called budget estimation. So, and then you have to also take risk into consideration. If it will take them 3 hours to supply 12 tanks of water, you can decide to make it 3 hours, 30 minutes, or 4 hours. And then you put the rate per hour. You're not stealing any money. By the time you are done with the entire project, you are still expected to, bring an updated version of this budget template to them. Okay? So, basically, that's how this works. You can have several categories. You can have the gravel supply. And then under gravel supply, you also list the subtax there. All, and then the labor involved. If there's no labor involved, you leave it blank. The materials, and then the fixed cost. We talked about fixed cost earlier. And that kind of like, excuse me, let me see. Okay, drop your question in the chat section. Just drop it. I will look at it and then so type your question and I will take a look at it. So for the fixed cost, imagine that in our water supply, our company is the owner of the drivers, our company is the owner of the truck. So one of the things we'll do at the beginning of the project is to ensure that the mechanic take a look at the trucks. Are there any issue that needs to be fixed? And then we give an example that if there's need to change tire is going to be in a fixed cost. It's not a variable cost. So it will have to only appear once that, okay, we need to purchase tire, and then we'll put the cost for the tire there. So meaning that if you said tire purchase under water supply, say tire purchase, I expect you to go here and put the amount. We can say maybe 20,000 naira. Okay, tire purchase. It's not under materials, it's not under labor. It's just the tire we need for the truck. So yeah, that is all about this. I hope we are clear on this one. Can we move to the next one? I really wanted to save our time, but there's nothing I can do. We'll have to be patient with me. So when your question is ready, just let me know. Just drop it. I will take a look at it. So the next thing, which is tools for project planning. We've taken a look at the budget estimation document or template. So we also have the WBS template, which is work breakdown structure. We have the Gantt charts. We have the project documentation. So we are going to briefly look at these ones, right? So when we look at it, in water supply example, the hour rate, water fee, and can we add everything together or do we have to write everything individually? Okay, yeah, we have to write them individually. It's a good question, Chrissy. So, but there's a confusion that I'm still having here. Anita said, sir, please, I have a question. And then the person that asked the question is Christy. I don't know whether Anita is speaking on behalf of Christy. So whenever you are ready, you put your question. So, yeah, the question says, sir, in water supply example, the hour rate, water fee, and can we add everything together or do we have to write everything individually? Yeah, we have to write them individually. Water fee is different from hour rate. In a situation where we are contracting everything out, we just focus on material, which is here. We just focus on material, right? Which is this side. If we are contracting the water supply out to another company. But if it's our company that is handling everything, then we are the one that will handle the hour and the number of hours that the employees worked, and then the cost of purchasing those waters and, bringing them over to the company. Okay. Concerning the question regarding the component of project planning document, what is the answer? This, is it monitoring a critical part of a project? Yeah, but what we are talking about is project planning. So, and the question is saying that, which of the following is not part of the components of creating a project plan? Creating a project plan. So monitoring is not part of creating a project plan, right? So remember, we are not saying executing a project plan. We are saying creating a project plan. Basically, we are creating the project charter, a document that contains everything about the project. So the next one we should look at is the project documentation. This one, it won't take us time. So let's have a look at it quickly. Project documentation template. This one is very straightforward and brief, right? So here, what you have the project phase. Phase in this case, you are talking about, is it the initiation phase, right? Is the project at the initiation phase? Is it the execution phase? Is it the planning phase, right? You put this here. And then the project document name, you also have to put it there. For initiation, there's a document for it. You have to put the name of the document here. And then the project document description. So when you're talking about project initiation, you have to put a brief description of what you are referring to. And then the owner of the project. There was a time I was handling a project for a company. And then while I was handling the project, one of the questions that a stakeholder asked me was that who owns the project? I was surprised and shocked. I was confused because that was the first time in my life that I'm working on a project and then someone have to ask me who owns the project. So there must always be a project owner, project document owner. Who does it belong to? Which department does it belong to? Or which individual in the department does it belong to? Then the status of the project. This one, I created a drop down here so that you can select. Oh, I think something happened. Let me see if I can redo that. I created a drop down. I don't know how it got messed up. So the status can be, ongoing. It can be finished. It can be, let me see, is this still here? No, it's not. Okay. Let me just use this to format it. So it can be maybe review or in review. It depends on how you want to call it, right? You can say in review. So once you have them, these three, you can decide to come here. You see this where it should be, so that you can be selecting them and be using them to, populate this project documentation. Okay, I'll look at your message shortly. So you come to data, data validation. So it's a list, and then the source has to be these ones. And then now that you have selected that, click OK. So you can now select, you see, you can say ongoing. So you can decide to fill it. If it's all ongoing, you can do that, or you can just delete this. One other way to make sure that this is repeatable, okay, it's already formatted. So you can say in review. That's the particular project you are talking about that you documented here. You can say it's finished. So this one, each for the project phase. So let me quickly look at your question, okay? Your question here, okay. What supply is the tax and the hour rate? The water fee as the sub-tax. Okay, you said, is it okay to say that what supply is the tax and the hour rate and water fee as the sub-tax? Okay, water supply as the tax and as is the tax, and then hour rate and the water fee is the sub-tax. No, it's not cool. It's not cool. It's good you asked, but that's not cool, right? And the reason is that let's take a look at it one more time. You see, you have a tax. The tax on a broad view is water supply. That's it. Now, the sub-tax under water supply now, what do we have to say? Here we can say 12 tanks of water every day, or 12 tanks of water daily. You see, now that's the sub-tax. So also under this water supply, you can still have what's it called? Remember that you can have different companies that you are dealing with, meaning that the units, the price per unit can vary. So let's say you have another one. That one is to bring, okay, there's something missing here. Now you have to be careful because you have to be very detailed about what you're writing. So 12 tanks of, you can call it 22,000 liter, 22,000 liter, 1,000 liter, 1,000 liter of water daily, right? So what I'm basically trying to do here is that I'm trying to describe the tank type, so that in case you have another tank that is of lesser value, let's say this one now is instead of 22,000 liters, this tank is maybe 15,000. So this is a different tank. Now, what we'll do here now is that for this one that has lesser size, we can now decide to maybe ask the guy to supply maybe more quantity. You can say bring okay, 30 trucks of water. Okay. Sorry, I have to change the description. You have to watch out for these things. So I'm teaching me, I'm just playing around with it anyways. So 30 tanks of 15,000 liter of water daily. So here you are saying 30 units, and then for each of those 30 units, maybe this guy's own could be cheaper. Maybe that's why we're going for 30. So you can put it to be 90,000. You see, that's different. So water supply is the main tax. Then under it, you have subtax. Okay. So the next thing we have to look at, are we clear? Is there any question before we look at another thing? Are we clear? Are we clear? Are we clear? Okay, it seems we are clear. So another one we'll look at is the Gantt chart. Let's quickly look at Gantt chart. Gantt chart is also very useful. In fact, I brought the one I use for my final project here. This one I use for my final project. So some universities do ask that you should provide a Gantt chart before you attempt to write your final, your project. That's your research project. So you can see that on this Gantt chart, we have title, that's the title of the project, the name of the project manager. Then you have date. It comes by default with date. And for each of those dates, it is now, the date is broken down into phase, and then the phases are broken down into weeks. Then under the weeks, you have Monday to Friday that you're expected to work. So you come here. I think it's very straightforward. It has WBS number, which is the work breakdown structure number. We'll take a look at the template for that one shortly. So we'll have the tax title. Here you put the tax. Like for a research project, you have the project proposal that I was supposed to submit. The start date is 26th of September 2023. The end date is 20th of October 2023. So duration is 24 days. Tax is complete, right? So, and then you have the project itself. Now, under this project proposal, we have the introduction, project problem statement, scope, literature review, chapter review, final review, and submission. So this is how you break down your project as well. Like you have the water supply, you break down the water supply. Under it, what are the sub-tax? You put them here, and then you put the start date and the end date, and then how many days it takes for that to be done. So this other side, automatically, this chart you are seeing will populate itself using the date you've provided. So using the start and the end date, the tax will update itself. The chart here will update itself. This one, they will update themselves automatically. So it's very simple. It's very simple. But then I will look for an example. I'm going to look for an example that I'll send to you guys. And then I will expect you guys to solve the question over the week. And then you send it to my email. Let me see who can attempt it. So this is a Gantt chart. It's just to help you track your project. That's the project timeline. How many days is allocated to each subtask. That's all. So if the person have not completed that, I can follow up and know why. Or if there's a delay, I can follow up and know why. Or if there's need for an adjustment to increase the timeline, we can also do that using this document. I hope this one is clear. So we'll look at another one, which is the simple work breakdown structure. This one is very straightforward. It's not difficult. Just like other ones, they are very straightforward. So here you have the project title, you have the company name, you have the project manager, you have the date. So you now begin to break it down. First, you begin with the project title. Then when you begin with the project title, you start with activity title. So activity title in this case is what you have under this document, this Gantt chart. This is an activity title. See this, right? So, or you can just come here, project proposal. That's it. Now, if you come down a little, there's something I want to show you guys. Okay. Okay. I don't think it's here because this is not the one I submitted actually. So there's something I wanted to show you because the project proposal is different. This is the proposal that I submitted. Then the main write-up itself is also different. So it's part of this, okay? It's also part of this. Other ones you are seeing here are majorly implementation, code implementation. That's what you are seeing here. That's why you are seeing pipeline development, pipeline orchestration. All those ones are writing of code. So in essence, what I'm trying to say is that there's always going to be an activity title, the first one. Then under the activity, you now have the subtasks, 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 to 1.6. So that is applicable here. So you now see subtasks 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.4. So basically what the work breakdown template does for you is to break down the activity, break them down, and then so you can have it in your proposal whenever you want to, or maybe in your presentation slide to give an overview to the executive managers what the project entails. So this one is populated just to give you an idea of the activity title, the tax, and the subtax. But if you go to this other one, it's empty. So you can actually populate it, right? You can populate it, edit text, and then you put it. So I'm going to give you guys an assignment. I'll send an email to all of you asking you to, take one of those templates and then fill it for a particular project. And let's see what you can share. Okay? Are we good? So
We are trying. I'm trying.
which of the following tools is used for managing a project timeline? Which of the following tools is used for managing project timeline? I expect you to, attempt it. We're almost done. Thank you everyone for trying. Yeah, have you guys started answering the question? If you look at the document I've been sharing, the template, trust me, you will know the one I'm talking about. You will know the one that is the answer. Okay. You are trying. So the Gantt chart is used for the project timeline. That's where you document the project timeline. All right. The next question is which of the following tool is used for managing project work structure? Which of the following tool is used for managing project work structure? Okay, the WBS documents. So that's what we use to organize the project structure, project work structure. We use it to organize it, and then we know what subtask is under which activity or it's under which tax. So I'm going to email you guys the templates, and yeah, the last thing we'll talk about shortly is component of a communication plan. When we want to establish communication, the first thing we have to look at is who are the stakeholders, who are involved, right? For a typical company, you have to look at the C-level managers, the executives. You have to look at the departments that are supposed to execute the project. You have to look at the department that is supposed to benefit from the project. All these are stakeholders, including yourself, the project manager. You are a stakeholder. Okay. Then how do you communicate with them? It's not just after you finish eating chicken, you now say, hello, please, that our project safe where we dey. That level of carelessness can lead to firing, right? So you have to be able to, you have to establish a means of communicating with them. Are you going to be having a virtual meeting? Are you going to be having a physical meeting once in a month or once in a week? No. You're not the one to design it yourself. There are templates. There are templates. So all you have to just do is work with the template and then think around the project I'm going to send to you people. Just a simple project. Someone wants to do this or that. Prepare a project this thing for the person. That's all. And by the way, for those on this call, I don't want some people to feel bad. At the end of the project, I may decide not to use the exam to issue a certificate. I may decide to use the assignment to issue a certificate. So I don't want someone to say, oh, I attended, I did this, I did that. You did not give me any certificate. So everything is important. Then we have when and how often do you send updates, right? For instance, I was managing a project, an AI project for a startup, and it's an insurance kind of thing. But then they wanted to use AI in insurance to, monitor what's it called? Anytime that pest attacks a farmland, they want to be able to use using satellite images to validate that pest actually attacked that farmland. And I think the case study was Mali. So they want to be able to validate it. After validating it, then they will now dish out the insurance money to the farmer. So in such case, one of the things I address in that project is when and how often do you send updates? And in our case, I was sending them updates every week, every Monday, and the updates was via email. Then we now have a virtual update every 2 weeks that we now meet virtually and then have a discussion about the project. So then who sends the updates? We are many that were involved in the project: AI engineers, researchers, junior data scientists, and all that. But they are not, authorized to send the email. I, as the project manager, was the one authorized to send the email to the owner of the project, right? So that is it about components of a communication plan. You can look at this example here. This is an example of a this is a template. You can have this in an Excel document, right? I think I have one. I don't know if I still have it. I'll check. So the description, meaning, is it the project team meeting? Is it the stakeholder update? Is it board meeting, project review? The frequency, is it daily? Is it monthly, bi-weekly, at milestone? Then the method of communicating: meeting, email, online meeting, presentations, and so on and so forth. Then who are the audience, right? You have the meeting, but who are the audience to to join the meeting? So you have the project team, you have the stakeholders that involve the project team, every other person involved. You have the project board, like the C-level executives. You have the project sponsor. Sometimes there are sponsors. For instance, if it's a public health project, there are NGOs, there are international NGOs that sponsor those projects. So they are not the project board, they are not really direct stakeholders, but then they are the one that financially sponsors the project. Then the owner, you have to indicate who owns the meeting. Is it the project manager? Is it the stakeholder? Who owns the meeting? Because you that owns the meeting, you are the one that will come up with schedules. You are the one that will come up with updates. You are the one that will come up with what should be discussed in the meeting. It's not that you join the meeting and say that when they said, "What are we here to discuss?" You say, "I'm surprised. I don't know why we are here." So it's supposed to be for you should have more concrete knowledge of what the meeting should be about so that you drive the meeting. All right. So yeah, briefly, we talked about what is project planning, components of project planning, communication plan, tools used in project planning. I think this is very, very straightforward, but then still find time to watch the recording, and also you get your assignment possibly by Monday. You get it so that I can get your hands busy. If not, many of you just go and be like, the project is very simple, it's easy. So when I send you the assignment, I am very sure you reach out to me. So yeah, any question before we go? Who is laughing? Why are you laughing? You ask question and you are still laughing. So okay, let me stop sharing and then let me stop recording.